Uh, this is just a quick note to let you know that tonight's show was recorded just before we found out that Julio died. Julio was 59. Don't know how he died yet, but a big part of my childhood, I assume the other geriatric millennials in this group, big part of their childhood, Gangster's Paradise 1, 2, 3, 4. So just wanted to acknowledge that and let you know that the reason we did not address it during the podcast you're about to hear, the show you're about to hear, is because it had not yet been announced. So that said, please enjoy this special edition, this next edition of the RTF Show.
This is some of the lingua franca of the funk business, and people come from miles around with an almost religious devotion to get on down.
Welcome back to another episode of the RTF Show. I am here as always with John, my co-host, co-brother.
Hello, everyone.
How's it going?
Yes. Yeah, it's going well.
But we're not alone. We're not alone today. We got a very special guest, a special guest that actually made the blanket behind me, the beautiful Chicago flag blanket, which is the reason why I'm not doing my traditional background today to highlight this. Kelly is here with us. Kelly,
happy to be
going?
Here. It's going well. Excited to be here. Excited to discuss all of my recent transactions.
Successes.
And if you want to call it that, sure. Questionable choices. Well, go through it all.
We will get into it. We will get into it. I'm wearing my Chicago Bears jersey in honor of the fact that the Bears have a better record than my fantasy team, which is something I did not think would happen at the beginning of the season. The Bears 2-1 atop the, sort of atop the NFC North. But we got a lot of stuff to go through. We were off last week, so we got to catch up a little bit. John, why don't you kind of take us through, the Survivor update, what we missed over the last week or so.
All right. Well, week 2 was a series of very high scores and a series of very low scores. We saw some numbers up there reaching 170 for the Mecca Peter against Football and Stuff. I believe he was about 0.3 points away from doubling Charlie's score, 170.38 to 85.36. An insane total. Thankfully, no weekly high that week, so Peter couldn't nab another $25 from us. And then we saw, Mike and I riding high from our 1-0, our wins in week 1 to just plummeting in these scores. Thankfully, I beat Mike by 1 point to stay on the island. So Mike was kicked off the island. And then week 3, we kind of evened back out there, and we saw, thankfully, we saw Steve hit the weekly low there at 77. And so that's where we stand right there on Survivor. Ken is out, of course. Mike is out, and then Steve. Somehow, Charlie and Kelly are still in this from the Ditka Division. So it's very, very exciting, but we'll get more into that later.
All right. So last week featured a couple of big victories for teams, a couple of big losses. One of which I want to start with was your game, Kelly. So Alec cleans up, gets the victory over you. gets himself to 1-2. It's a tough loss for you. What are you thinking coming out of this? How are you feeling about things?
Not great, honestly. I think the score would have been closer if I hadn't traded for Edwards-Helaire, if I had started Marquise Brown, who's on my bench with, I don't know, however many points. I think I still would have lost, but it would have been more respectable. So that's a good, crushing reminder of my decision-making and my prowess.
So sure. Yes. And we're going to get into the Edwards-Helaire trade in a minute. The other big victory, I think, coming out of
real quick. Before we go on any further, just like everyone to take a moment and click into Alec's team and then his profile picture. So when Alec got married to Irina over Labor Day weekend, it was at a Serbian Orthodox wedding, or at a church, and a Serbian Orthodox wedding, in which they were both had crowns placed on their heads. First the priest took the crown and made the cross, and then Alec had to kiss the crown, and then it was placed on his head. And then the ceremony continued, and then at some point it was taken off his head, and Alec had to kiss it again, I believe. It was very awesome. This is a great photo. I think we should just admire that for a second.
No, I appreciate
that he has King Henry on his team. I feel like it's just an amazing photo, very appropriate. Wanted to call it out, give him his due. So.
Appreciated King Henry, who has looked more like a prince this season in terms of fantasy. All right. The other big victories, I think, John comes away with a big victory over Steve. Obviously, Steve falls to 0-3, which got to be devastating for Steve. The only 0-3, the only completely defeated team in the league. Very rough.
Didn't see that coming, honestly.
No, neither did I. And then on the flip side of this, the two kind of juggernauts that we identified before the season started, Josh and Peter Kramer's teams, both escape this week with victories despite sub 100 weeks, which, really down weeks for both of them were an opportunity for their opponents to win, and just didn't quite happen. So I think this is a week that we might look back at the end of the season and say they could have had another loss here that might have altered the playoff picture.
It's so frustrating, incredible. I mean, it's very frustrating. I mean, Sullivan 8 points away from being 3-0, right? And then same thing with barbecue Sprite. Thought he had a chance there for a little while. I mean, being 2-1 going into week 4 would drastically flip your guys' standings in the house division, right? And so very frustrating. Anyway.
All right. So before we move into what's coming up, there's 2 questions I want to ask both of you. So Kelly, I'm going to ask you first.
Right.
Are the Bombaleros for real? They're 2-1. They have, I believe, the 3rd highest point total, maybe the 2nd highest point total of the season, coming off 2 big weeks, 2 120-something point weeks in a row. They've looked great, mostly, I think, on the back of Lamar Jackson, but also Devonta Smith having a big week. Is this team for real?
I think yes for now, but I don't see it lasting. I mean, Jeff Wilson, at some point, I have to hope that what's his face comes back and comes out of IR and takes over his spot.
You do have to hope that.
And Breece Hall, I mean, he's had a couple good games, but we'll see.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, I am most worried about Fitz's running back situation. I do think like the Devonta Smith thing. It seems like he might kind of be edging out AJ Brown in Philly. And for an offense that really is kind of focused around a running quarterback who's going to get a lot of yards in the ground every game, having the top receiver in that offense is going to be helpful. So, John, is this team for real?
So I think Lamar Jackson is going to be putting up 30 plus points every week, right? I think he's something about the most touchdown. He scored the most touchdowns of anyone in the league so far. He has like the fourth most rushing yards, and it's an insane number of passing yards too.
So, yeah, just to cut you off. So he would be would you like that? He would be, I believe, running back 11 right now if you removed any other points, like just his yardage and touchdown totals. I believe he'd be the running back 11, which is crazy.
And he's still putting up 30 pass attempts a game. 30, 29, 29. But so I think there, like that alone, you're looking at anywhere from 30 to 40 points a game from him. And then of course you have Cooper Kupp, who doesn't seem to be slowing down at all from his last year's historic run. So to have both those guys on your team that, you could easily be looking at 70 to 75 points from two guys, then yeah, I mean, he has the luxury of taking that risk on Breece Hall and banking on Devonta Smith breaking away for a long touchdown pass, which I think that's what you need from Devonta Smith every week to get points from him. I think you're gonna need that big touchdown, which is quite possible in that league because on that team because the defense needs to account for Josh Hurts running and for AJ Brown and then also Dallas Goedert. So yeah, I think like more often than not, Devonta Smith is going to get loose for that big touchdown. It's going to get him the points there. And then you of course have Mike Evans, who was out last week, but is still going to be the dominant force in that offense. And so unfortunately, yes, I do think he is the real deal, and I don't think he needs to do all that much to his running back core to be successful. I mean, I do think Dalton Schultz is gonna be an issue for him all season, and so maybe there's enough there between the running backs and his tight end that he could have some problems. But if you're getting 70 points from two guys, it's
going to play a lot of bad teams. So.
Yeah, that's also true. Yeah, I agree. I think this team is for real. I think the Pierce pick in the auction is really gonna help. I think ideally, and I don't know, it'll be interesting to see what Fitz does this week. But Pierce is a guy that I think you have to consider starting going forward. He's the guy now in Houston. Burkhead was getting touches in the first game, but Pierce was on the field for like 80% of the snaps in the last couple games. So
he got 20 rushing attempts. So
yeah, I think
the issue is, are they going to be able to do that week in and week out? I mean, looking at their schedule, yes, for the next at least like 3 or 4 games. Honestly, actually, until about week 11. So yeah,
they did it. They did it in a game that they were, it's not the Bears game was a close game. They gave them 20. It's not
that's what I mean. Like it's in the Bears are running
garbage time,
right? No, that's what I mean. Is like they're playing coming up. They've got the Chargers, who is Herbert going to play? I don't think so.
I see what you're saying. Okay.
Jacksonville, Las Vegas, Tennessee. Then they play Philadelphia, but then they play the Giants and Washington. Like they're gonna be playing kind of teams that they can run against for the next 8 weeks, which is gonna give him that opportunity. So yeah, unfortunately, yes.
So I think Fitz has a shot to be for real. He's off to a hell of a start. All right. Let's answer the next question here. And that is what is up with the Ditka Division? Kelly, what's going on? You're all 1-2.
Competitive division in sports.
You're atop it. 318 points. Ken and Charlie pretty close with 275-ish in points for both of them. Your division records, you're all 1-1. So the tiebreaker there is gonna fall to individual matchups. Who you're obviously biased, but who are you worried about in your division? I'll put it that way.
Who am I worried? Yeah.
Which team are you worried?
Which team are you from winning?
Yes.
Me. I'm going to stop me from winning. I'm worried about me and my choices. But realistically, Charlie, he gets lucky. He runs up against people when they have off weeks, and he has some decent players who can put up points. But he does tend to get those lucky draws. I'm surprised he wasn't playing either Josh or Peter this past week and stole a victory from them. But I think in years past he has had those kinds of weeks. So you never know what he's going to pull.
Most points against them right now. So
yeah, you never know what he's going to pull out.
Maybe his luck is turning. That's true. Yeah. I think you're right. Charlie's team. So there's, I guess, in terms of Ken's team, I think Ken has a pretty decent kind of like core of his lineup. His bench is fucking awful, which really is going to limit him in the long run. He's gotten kind of a lucky break here in that if David Montgomery really can't go, which right now he's day-to-day, the Khalil Herbert pickup is going to be huge for him. But other than that, he's really just relying on Mark Andrews to continue being Mark Andrews. He's been incredible. But then kind of big weeks from Mike Williams and DK Metcalf. Mike Williams, who, as much as Ken loves Mike Williams, I think has been a little boom or bust in his career. And it's not like he's a young player. Mike Williams is who he is at this point. He's been in the league. This is his 6th season.
He also is impacted by Keenan Allen. So it's
exactly.
He is who he is, and he also is who isn't on the field. So.
Exactly. And I would say, like, Mixon, I mean, if you look at Mixon's sort of opportunities, he's had a ton of opportunities and has not done much. I mean, I think part of that is the offensive line is so bad so far. But Mixon hasn't produced, but should eventually, start to produce, right? I mean, 9
I feel like you fall for that every year.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, he's a Mixon diehard as well. He had a great year last year, but 19 rushing attempts and only 9 points in week 2, and then 5 points on 24 rushing attempts. Like it's not great for Joe Mixon right now, but it could start to turn around and Ken could see some success. But it's pretty clear Ken's already sold the season and is wanting to get out as soon as possible.
I mean, in fairness to Joe Mixon, he did get hurt in the last game. And in week 2, he was playing a Dallas defense that I think actually might be one of the best defenses in the league.
So good.
They've looked incredible. So in all fairness to Joe Mixon. That said, I agree that, it's a little bit concerning, just kind of the trajectory of Joe Mixon. And then obviously DK Metcalf in an offense with a very questionable quarterback situation is going to make it tough. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think we're all in agreement. Charlie is the team to beat. If you want to win the DECA Division, Kelly, you got to take down Charlie.
I'll do my best.
Yep.
To stop myself from ruining things.
We know Ken's rooting for you. All right. So let's move. Yeah. Let's move forward. We want to take a quick look at the matchups that are coming up. And I do mean quick. We're going to go through them nice and quick.
So real quick, I mean, I do want to touch on sort of, where the league's at, the strength of the league.
Okay, sure.
I think if you look at each division, it's pretty interesting. I would say, the Lovey division is obviously pretty strong right now, of course, with the Mecca Peter there at 423.4. However, I mean, you're looking at some of these teams, and we were just talking about Fitz being really great and Steve seemingly underperforming. What's got me a little hesitant to crown any one division as the best division, when you look at our former champ, 311 points, not too many. That's not too many points. It's only about 104 on average per game. But with the lowest points for, right, or lowest points against at 262. So it's it feels a little bit like fool's gold that, I would look to that being one of the top, the top division there. So curious as to where you guys are thinking sort of the top couple teams are to beat.
Are you asking what division is the best division?
Yeah.
Kelly, do you have a take on this?
It's very difficult because I have divisions that I don't want to be the best divisions. But I think at the end of the day, the reality is it's probably Lovey. I think just looking at points scored, points against, Alec has been pretty effed over by points against. Both Peters have scored pretty well.
Yeah.
So, okay. I think in terms of looking at it, yeah, in that way, I think the Lovey division is pretty good. But if we were going to take a deeper kind of dive into these divisions, which I don't want to go too far into it. But I do think Steve has had kind of a really really down start to the season, but has players that really should kind of pick up their performance. And so you would imagine that guys like Christian McCaffrey, who's been not quite Christian McCaffrey like, as long as he can stay healthy, and then Jamar Chase, who has been not quite Jamar Chase like, when they start to pick it up, I think Steve, has a decent shot here at kind of rebounding from his 0-3 start. And then, as much as I hate to give my brother any credit, I do think Saquon Barkley, who I did really want in the auction and just wasn't willing to go as high as John, I do think Saquon Barkley has looked great. He's looked great. He's looked great so far. And Kamara's looked not so great, and so you hope that he'll turn it around. But CeeDee Lamb, despite his fucking embarrassing drop on Monday Night Football, a ball that I'm pretty sure I could have caught for a touchdown.
It's crazy. He has 2 drops a game. It sucks.
Yeah. But despite that, he gets, I mean, the amount of targets that he's getting every game, he's averaging 11 targets a game. He's going to get his points. So I guess I'm more bullish on the Ryan division, and we talked about Fitz's team a little bit, but I'm more bullish on the Ryan division than I am on the Lovey division. I think we discussed kind of ad nauseum in the beginning how Sullivan's team is top heavy, and I do worry about it. Alex's team, despite some early success from guys like Christian Kirk and Amari Cooper, I just don't know that Josh Jacobs I don't think is a long-term solution. Cam Akers I don't think is a long-term solution. And I am worried about Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry hasn't been quite Derrick Henry-like this season.
Once it gets cold, he'll be fine.
I guess
no
we'll
one likes
see.
to hit that guy when it's about 30 degrees outside. No one's stepping in front of that freight train.
All right. Let's jump to next week. Kelly, I'm going to ask you to go kind of come down the list with us and give us you don't have to give us your prediction outright for each game, but kind of tell us which way you're leaning in the initial assessment, because we're going to get to what we're doing this week for the league. But let's start. Let's start at the bottom of this list.
What's the easy one?
Yeah, Ken versus the Mecha Peter. What do you see here?
Yeah, I think Peter takes that one for sure.
I think it's pretty easy. Yeah.
I think the bigger question is how much money will be exchanged for Mark Andrews eventually. So I'm watching the stock rise and fall as the weeks go by. But yeah, question. This is I don't think Ken has a chance unless everyone on Peter's team gets hurt. Like across the board.
Ken needs everybody on Peter's team to get hurt. He also needs guys like David Montgomery not to play. It'd be great if like Terry McLaurin didn't play for some odd reason. But yeah, I agree. John, agreed?
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those that just it's the highest point differential that we have going into this. You couldn't pay me enough money to take Ken.
All right, let's go to Kelly versus the Alpha Peters. Kelly, how you feeling about this matchup?
Feeling concerned. I think the Cook versus Madison, like who will play, which way will it go, who will be effective. I'll probably have to start Madison just for fun. Everyone in Detroit is hurt, and also their Lions, so that still remains a problem. Yeah, and as you can see, I do not have Edwards-Helaire in there, so everything is going deeply according to plan. It's all great.
So
no
why do you go Carter over Edwards-Helaire?
That was going to be my question.
I'll change it 6 times before Sunday. We'll see.
Before Sunday comes along.
Because Carter has not done much since week 1. So
honestly, it's more matchup driven. As much as it pains me. I mean, Pittsburgh defense is okay, but I think Tampa Bay's is better.
Yeah, I mean, without
also, Edwards-Helaire managed to get points last week, but he had negative yards. Like that was not confidence inducing. So, we'll see. It's a coin flip, and I'll probably forget, at the last minute, and whoever I
keep the one that you
last will be in there. So yeah, who knows?
I mean, what's your take on Elijah Moore? Like, I've got him in another league, and I thought he was going to be much better this year. He just hasn't had that breakout game yet.
Yeah, I agree. I kept him. He's one of the many like second-year wide receivers that I kept just to see who hit, which it worked out for St. Brown. Didn't quite work out for Elijah Moore. I did not realize that Joe Flacco would be throwing him passes. Shocking development. I did not realize Joe Flacco was still in the National Football League. So
I don't think anybody realized that.
So that sucks. But, you know, he could still turn it around. He had a better second half. He could just be, you know, warming up. Maybe he, like Derrick Henry, enjoys the cold more, you know? Only time will tell.
Yeah.
There you go.
I will say, I mean, keeping Sutton was a great move. He's been kind of the lone bright spot in that offense there.
It helps that Judy got hurt. So,
I mean, Judy came back last week and looked like dog shit. So
yeah, he's probably still a little hurt. So we'll see. We'll see if we can hang on.
I think Sutton's just the better receiver. So you know.
Well, I think it helps that in an offense that isn't really moving the ball very much, Sutton seems to be the possession guy, right? The guy that you're, you know, going to when you need a couple of yards. And I guess
on the other side, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of guys there that can blow up, but there's also, I mean, Adams has not looked very good. Terry McLaurin, I mean, you're in a bad offense. He's going to get points, but not a lot. It's kind of doubt Tua plays, which then if you scroll down, he's left with Matt Ryan. So
in that case, I feel very confident. But you never know. You never know with Tua.
The fact that he's still starting Cole Kmet too is mind-boggling to me. I mean,
well, you gotta believe.
Believe what? That he'll catch like 2 passes for 40% of the target share? Like
2 passes, that would be like 150% more than the amount of passes he's cost already this year. That'd be crazy.
Yeah. I mean, he has an embarrassment of riches at wide receiver. So, I mean, I would expect him to start making some sort of move. You know,
I think part of the problem is wide receiver is a little bit rich this year, and running back is pretty shallow. It's hard to. So is tight end. Tight end is just.
I'd go out and
wasteland.
Anything to prevent the Mecca Peter from getting Mark Andrews. I'd love to see Peter here flip a Tyreek Hill or Devonta Adams for Mark Andrews there. So, but
well, what's Ken gonna do with Tyreek Hill or Devonta Adams?
I mean, keep him next year, but.
No.
He's rebuilding.
Tyreek Hill won for like $18. Sorry, $25.
Yeah, I don't know if Tyreek Hill is the guy that you rebuild with though this year. All right, let's move on. We'll hit a couple more matchups real quick. I think this is a big one. The next one up, Josh versus Fitz.
How we'll know, I guess, if the Bombaleros are real.
Yeah, I think this is a very good.
Or are
test
they just
the
a dream?
But or are they just a dream? But I also think, Josh has had some ups and downs to start the season. Herbert getting hurt. AJ Brown kind of wobbling a little bit at certain points, also looking okay. Najee Harris. The one real bright spot, I think, is that Javonte Williams, they're going to continue to give the ball to what's his name? I cannot think of, who's been in the league forever.
Gordon.
Melvin Gordon. Yeah.
Yeah. They're going to continue to give the ball to him, but Javonte Williams is the better running back in that system. And he looked incredible in the last game I saw them play. So
yeah, for sure. So if you look at his numbers, like all he's missing is a touchdown, which pretty much every player in Denver is missing a touchdown at the moment. Mm-hmm. But if you add a touchdown to his weeks, completely different story. I mean, you're looking at 15 points, 14, 15 points a game, and no one's crying foul on this. So I think, but the issue with that is Melvin Gordon's their goal line back, right? So I don't think that's going to change.
Well, they got to get to the goal line to have a goal line back.
There. That's true, but yeah, he's got a couple guys there that could break out. I mean, Jamal Williams could have a big week there. DJ Shark hasn't looked bad, and at least last week. So
yeah,
targets, but who knows? So
all right. Next matchup on the board is Barbecue Sprite Bill versus Steve. This also should be a pretty close matchup. Steve really needs this win, and I don't love the chances here for Steve, mostly because the Ja'Marr Chase, I'm not too confident on a Thursday night against Miami. I think it's possible they, especially if Tua is not playing tomorrow, that they go up big early on Miami, and we don't see a lot of Ja'Marr Chase just in terms of them throwing the football. We see a lot of Joe Mixon. But I don't know.
Hi there. Kelly, what's your take? I don't know.
It's a tough one. I don't know. Looking at Bill's team, maybe this is Steve's moment. I think it could be. It could be his moment. I think Buffalo against Baltimore should be a good game. That's also probably not going to get a lot of points for Allen. Hopefully it'll be a running showdown, but especially if it's really raining. I don't know how rainy that cloud is, but that could help. I don't know. Steve is kind of hamstrung by his Carolina players who were really good last year and who are very bad this year.
Yeah, a little too much stock in Carolina there. It is interesting. I mean, so he's got Mariota in right now. He's got Brady on the bench. We just saw Brady and Rodgers have a super low scoring game, right? So I kind of understand the hesitation there and playing Brady, especially with the current hurricane happening in Florida. But you got to think with Mike Evans coming back and potentially Julio Jones and I think an outside chance of Chris Godwin, that Brady puts up a big day, maybe he's going to continue to tinker with that. But I think otherwise, like, he's got a pretty decent shot there. There's a lot of Packers players in this game as well, with Lazard and Jones, and then potentially Dobbs, who Steve picked up. And Dobbs looks like the receiver to have in Green Bay. Lazard's still coming back from injury, but also, Dobbs looks like the one who can catch the ball there, right? And once Rodgers trusts a receiver, it's pretty much force feeding. So
we'll see. We will see. All right. Next matchup on the horizon: Alec versus Charlie. Football and stuff. I think this is one that Charlie could very well win. What do you guys think?
This is how he sneaks these victories. Corey Davis as the flex, though. Wow, bummer. Has he had him there? Oh, he must have. He hasn't changed his lineup.
No, he had Renfro. No,
okay.
I think he did have,
my bad, Charlie. I apologize.
He did have Renfro in.
He has not missed he set his lineup every week so far. He's
Which
texting me at like 9:55, being like lineup set. So
which we greatly appreciate.
yeah.
Way to go, Charlie.
Yeah.
I mean, he has some options. He has a better bench than I was. I love that he still has Mercedes Lewis. He's gonna keep him as if it was on purpose the whole season.
Yeah, that one's still a bit of a shocker, but
no, I do appreciate that Charlie, who kind of made his bones in this league on kind of drafting Green Bay Packers, wasn't able to do that this year, mostly because he forgot to keep the two guys that he wanted to keep. But in lieu of doing that, he went out and grabbed himself two Packers to put on his roster just to kind of have them around as locker room guys, like Randall Cobb and Mercedes Lewis, just to kind of, give
keep
him that,
just
to ensure that his team smelled a little like fucking cheese, to give it that like real blue cheesy, that mold smell. Really, really do appreciate it. All right, let's hit the last one real quick.
Yeah. I think Charlie does. He's got an opportunity for a big day, though.
I do too. I agree with you, John. All right, last one. The brothers
let's
face off. The Decatur Staleys in desperate need of a victory. The Rose City Destroyers flying high right now. This is a rarefied air for the Rose City Destroyers. They have not been in this situation often in this league.
A winning record? Yes, I know. I'm very excited.
So
very excited.
Kelly, what do you think? Who's got this?
Wow. I think it's probably going to be pretty close. I think Pittman having a bad year because Matt Ryan sucks throwing in passes.
It's not great.
But if Keenan Allen comes back, I guess you would need Keenan Allen and Herbert to both be decently healthy.
Yes.
Who's Herbert's backup?
Chase Daniel. Former Bears, former backup for just about every team in the league at one point. I believe he's made over $40 million in his career. He's started 6 games.
$5 million per touchdown that he's thrown. $5 million per touchdown. And something like $300,000 per pass attempt.
Pretty great.
I think I don't know, John, how many more moves are you going to make before Sunday? You'll be pretty locked in?
So I'm pretty much locked in. I think as long as Kamara is healthy enough to play, I think Winston might not play, and the Red Rifle will be throwing the ball there. So I think there will be a lot of checkdowns to the quarterback there. So I feel pretty confident if Kamara's in there, he's going to get a decent amount of points, certainly more than he's scored all season, which is not many. He's scored 12 points total on the season. So hopefully he can double that in this week.
12 points total. Yikes.
606. So I think if he can put up 12 points, I'll be very happy. And then, as far as I gotta go Cordell Patterson there, and then leave Hunt on the bench. But then otherwise, pretty much I don't trust anyone. I don't trust Juju. Darnell Mooney's a no right now until Fields throws at least 20 times in a game. Which
I'd like to thank you for not trading me Juju. So thank you for that. I appreciate.
Yeah, really should have traded you Juju for a Hollywood Brown straight up. I saved
Thank you.
from yourself there.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I do think John's going to take this one as much as it pains me to say it, since he
I think so too.
won't tinker more.
I think there's a good chance John takes this one. It's for me. I feel like really riding on Keenan Allen coming back. I could really use Keenan Allen right about now to kind of buoy my team. And then I just got to figure out what the fuck I'm going to do at running back. But all right.
You do have an embarrassment of riches at wide receiver there, but so far no one's taking you up on this offer of trading, including Michael Pittman and Deontay Johnson.
I've talked to a few people.
Okay.
I mean, realistically, there's just not that many running backs.
There are not that many running backs. I will not name names of who I've talked to. The only name I will name, and this is getting late in the episode for this, but I know he's still listening, is Kramer. I'm not trading you Jalen Hurts. It's not going to happen.
It might happen.
No, it's not happening. I'm not trading Jalen Hurts to you. I'm just not going to do it. It would be like, I don't know. At this point, it feels like the Bulls trading Michael Jordan to the Detroit Pistons in the early 80s. I'm not going to do that. I'm just not going to do it.
Would you do it for Stephon Diggs?
Would I trade Jalen Hurts for Stephon Diggs?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. But he's not going to offer me Jalen Hurts for Stephon Diggs.
Justin
he's offering
Jefferson?
me.
No, he's not going to offer any of those.
He's offering me Jalen Hurts for Travis Etienne and fucking Rashad Penny.
And money, probably.
Frankly, yes, and a little bit of draft money, which frankly is insulting.
Nick Chubb? Did you do it for Nick Chubb?
Yeah, think about it for a guy like Nick Chubb.
Heard it here first, Peter. Maybe pony up and actually pay some real value instead of bench trash, which is exactly what this is.
So, all right. Going forward, we got like 1 minute left before I'm going to basically stop this recording. Going forward, we got big things happening this week. This week is the Pick'em. John is going to be sending out a Google form that looks a lot like this, because this is the actual Google form, where you will pick the matchups from this week. The winner, the team or the owner that picks the most correct matchups this week will win the weekly prize. If we have a tie, I believe, John, we carry it over to next week. Is that correct?
Just the two winners will then do it again next week. So
exactly. All right. Anything I missed there?
No, I think we're good.
When do we need to have those in? What's the
Thursday night football kickoff? No later.
You got 24 hours to do it. We are sending it out right after recording this, and you got 24 hours to turn it back in.
Yep.
Right. Okay.
100%.
Kelly, thank you.
Not quite 24 hours, but yeah, happy to be here.
You know,
Thanks for not
24
ringing
hours,
me.
depending on time zones. I don't know. Kelly, thank you for joining us. This was fantastic. Happy to have you here. Best of luck the rest of the season. You're gonna need it.
Yeah, I am. I'm gonna need it. Hopefully I'll save myself from myself. Yeah, I don't know. Something about listening to John bullshit about football every week really fucks with me, because I destroy him in the other leagues that we're in. And then it's like, oh, I should do that. What am I? Or he'll say something that I've already done, and I'm like, I can't do it because John said it. And then I'm like, what am I doing?
You're tinkering. Like, you don't tinker. That's my job.
Not good.
But now you're just out there like doing a little snap.
Yeah, it's terrible.
All right.
You know, we'll figure it out.
Best of luck. All right,
Thank you so much.
John. This is Mike. This has been the RTF Show.
Get that weak shit out of here, Peter Kramer.